Hello, this is Dunedain, and we're going to do something different because today we're starting a new series, and the new series will be about my thoughts and memories of Vanilla WoW. Um, I will go over a few different aspects of the game, for example, the classes, the talents, the dungeons, the raids, the leveling experience, and in today's episode, I will go over the Alliance starting areas. Now, I will not just discuss the starting areas because there are plenty of people who already did that, but I will give you my insights in why I think they are great or they are maybe not so great, and I will try to bring up some of my memories in the starting areas as well. Um, Also, different from the other series, I will be more like talking in one take, so you will probably hear that I will do less editing and there will be much more um, thoughts and pauses maybe. So I apologize for that because English is obviously not my main or my native language. But I think it will be more interesting to hear my thoughts as they form. So even though there will be more pauses, I think it will be give a better insight in the content I'm trying to bring. So for today's topic, there are three starting zones, obviously, and I will start with the human starting zone. And actually, the human starting zone is the first one I ever explored in World of Warcraft, even though it was only for about 15 minutes. Because the very first character I made was a human warrior. I had just installed the game. I was waiting to play it. I had been installing it and updating the first two patches, I think, and it took a few hours. So I was really excited I could play, but I was still way younger, and I had to go to sleep in about 30 minutes or so. So um, I just created the character and I ran around a bit. I didn't see the quests. I just ran around and I eventually ended up in Westfall. And I died there, and that was the last thing I did on that character. Because the next day I made an night elf, and then obviously that's a different starting zone, so I come to that later. But I leveled this night elf for 2 days, and then a friend of me started on a different server and I started all over again and made a human again. Anyway, the third time I started was the character I actually leveled to 60. So that's for me it's probably my first impression of the game as a whole, and that was as a human. So we can say the starting zone of the humans was pretty important for my first experiences in World of Warcraft, and when I look back to it, and I played all three starting zones, or even those of the Horde now, but when I look back to it, it's still to this day one of my favorites. And also, I think the human starting zone and also a little bit the night elf starting zone, they gave me this sense of a huge world with different types of geography and different types of zones to explore, and because they're all so unique, it gave me a feeling which I never had before in a game. Um, up until that time, which was early 2005, I only played RTS games like Age of Mythology, Age of Empires. Um, I never played, or maybe I did play some games on the PlayStation, like Crash Bandicoot and stuff, but I never played an MMORPG, so I never had the fast, big world experience. And by logging into World of Warcraft, it was the first time I really played in a big world with some of my friends, and there are hundreds of other people in there, and that was really exciting to me. And I think the starting zones really helped me falling in love with the game, because the starting zones are so unique, like I just said, and if you start as a human or you start as a dwarf or if you start as a night elf or a horde even, you have such a different experience. The first experience you get in the game is so different, um, and that's something I really love about it. I was a human and I knew that dwarves had an entire different experience, and they saw the game totally different. And at some point, we would come together and we would enjoy the game together, but we were not there yet. And it was a huge world, and it would take some time before I would find the first dwarf and the first night elf and the first hordes. Um, and that's a feeling I never had before, and I will probably never have again because, well, once you have it, you have seen it, kind of. However, if I play the private servers now, I still kind of have that same feeling a little bit. Anyway, you get the idea a little bit. I see my human and I think, well, there are people who start something somewhere else and they have an entire different experience. I love it. I like it. It doesn't make me feel like I need to make it dwarf now to see that place. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I'm a human, I have this experience, and the fact that other people have different areas to explore as a first zone, their first feeling actually in this game, that was exceptionally interesting to me. And that was probably the major fact I kept on playing World of Warcraft in the beginning. So, that's not really about the human starting zone, of course, but the human starting zone has something which I really like in this game, and as in zones in general. Really, it's such a cozy zone behind a wall, and that gives some kind of safety. And there is a little caravan, and then you have that church, and that church is extremely important for the atmosphere in the entire starting area. Even though I'm not a Catholic, I really appreciate the church being there because it gives some kind of role play to certain classes like a paladin and a priest, but also the library in the church. I really like that. I like those silent places, and I think it's very well designed overall. Um, Also the fields around it, it's just really a nice human fantasy zone, and that's awesome. That's just really awesome. Um, and then, of course, when you go out of the starting zone and you go to Goldshire, that village is also exceptionally beautiful, really. As a fantasy village in the human zone, you just have to love it. If you like Lord of the Rings and films like that, this human starting zone really does a very good job getting you into the fantasy world, and I have to like that. Um, I like all the quests in Elwyn Forest. I like going to the farms. You see the families. You see the lumber mill. Uh, it all adds together to a exceptionally nice zone. Um, so that's enough about the humans for now. Even though I would like to say I also like Westfall very much because it's an entirely different kind of geography, and it's a different atmosphere as a different climate. I like that, but I prefer the forest. I really love forests, and the human forest is just peaceful, cozy, and very humany, and that's what we want, of course. Now, for the next zone, I will go to the Dwarf and Gnome zone. It's the zone I least explored. I did not make a Dwarf, I think, ever in Vanilla WoW. I did make Gnome though, a Warlock. I leveled it to, I don't know, I think level 10, maybe, something like that, maybe less. But I was never really that impressed with the Dwarf or the Gnome zone, even though it's, again, a totally unique feeling. And that unique feeling, I have to appreciate it. It's not my favorite zone, not at all, but it's still very nice. The snowy feeling you only have in that zone. And again, it's really unique, and I got to appreciate that. Also, it really helps feeling you like a dwarf. I don't really think it helps feeling you gnomish or something like that. So as a gnome, I don't really care. There's a lot of snow, but it really has a dwarven feel to it, and that's really nice, of course. So Blizzard did an exceptionally good job in giving the right feel to the right zones, and I like that. Now, I don't think the starting area is particularly interesting, but what I do like about this zone is the first time you go to Ironforge. When you see the big city into the mountain, you see the walk up to the city, that's incredible. That's one of the best sights in the whole game. I love Stormwind, I really do, but the first time you go into Ironforge, that's brilliant. That's the what hands down one of the best sights I ever saw in any game, really. That's one of the best views I've ever seen in the entirety of WoW, even in later expansions. That feeling never came back. I love it. That's about all I have to say about the dwarves and the gnomes. I know it's a lot less than the humans, but let's move on to the elves, because the elves, honestly, I love the human starting zone, but the elfish starting zone is exceptionally nice as well. If you start as an elf, as I probably did somewhat, because my second character was a night elf hunter, for 2 days at least, um, you have an entirely different atmosphere again. The experience you get there compared to the human or the dwarf experience is so much different again. And this time you kind of have the experience of being in a huge forest, different from that from the humans, because that's a forest as well, but the human forest is more like, well, yeah, human forest. There are houses, there are farms, there are villages, and there's a lumber mill and everything like that. So there's something going on. But in the Night Elf zone, you really have that feeling of a great forest, which is preserved by the Night Elves, and they live in it. They live in harmony with the nature. It's really an entirely different atmosphere because of the lightning as well. The purple lightning effects, the deep green lightning effects. Um, I love it really. It gives me such a feeling of relaxation. It would be a place I would visit in reality. It would be a place, in my imagination at least, where you can um, go out all day and sit by a river or a lake, and you can watch animals and you can watch things grow, and it really has a more wild feeling than the human zone. So Blizzard did an exceptional job in differentiating both forests, but in essence it are both forests, but the feeling is so much different. And something that really adds to it, and because I made a hunter as a first or second character, it struck to me really, it's the sound of that hunter's bow. That sound, to this day, is the best combat sound in World of Warcraft. It's great, and I think they changed it in later expansions. I don't know why he would change a sound like that, because it's epic, right? You can hear it here. It's so epic. It brings an atmosphere of a big silent forest, and you're the hunter there, and the only thing you can hear is you stretching your bow to hunt down some animals. How great is that? To me, that still brings the best and the most relaxing experience in World of Warcraft. That starting zone, starting with the hunter, is great. I love it. Okay, this is where I will wrap it up for the Alliance starting zones. There's probably a lot more I could say about it, but I think this is enough for the first video. Please let me know in the comments what you think about it. Did you like this style of video? Do you think we need more editing? Or is it good as it is right now. I hope you enjoyed this first video of the new series and have a nice day.